guys? Eden here, and finally doing a Q&A video for you all. This is my first time doing a Q&A. I was actually really nervous. I asked a lot of my friends if they would send me some questions, but I'm officially asking any of my YouTube followers that follow me on my channel, and also follow me on Twitter. If you would please send me questions. I will only be doing 10 questions today, and I will roll over questions, and I'm going to try and do a Q&A video once a week. So this is my first time experimenting with all this. So with that being said, we'll get on with the questions, okay? I'm going to keep the people who are asking the questions, I'm going to let them remain anonymous, simply because I just think it's easier that way. For people who did ask the questions, you know who you are, you know what questions you asked me, and if I didn't get to a question that you may have asked this time around, I promise I will get to it on next week's video for the next Q&A. So, first question is, what is the one game that made you cry? Oh man, the one game that made me cry, I will never forget about it, and I've played a lot of video games in my 28 years of life. But the one video game that made me cry for the very first time was Chrono Trigger. Now, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't played Chrono Trigger, anything like that, I'm not going to give away too much, but let's just say that one of the characters in your main party, they die. And I didn't know this at the time, but later on in the game, you can actually bring that person back to life. I didn't know this during my first playthrough through the game, so when I played through the game, I didn't bring this person back to life, so I ended up having to play the game, the epilogue, without the character that passed away. And there's no avoiding it. There's no avoiding this whatsoever. It's completely linear. You cannot avoid this from happening in the game. No matter what you do, you cannot avoid it. It's going to happen, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's completely part of the plot. But there is a way for you to bring them back, if you have the right materials and you know how to do it. I didn't know that that was an option, so I had to beat the game without them, and they mentioned them as an afterthought in the epilogue. And when I played it again in New Game Plus mode, I found out that you could bring them back to life, and I was super happy. And so I technically got the perfect ending my second playthrough of the game, Chrono Trigger. So yeah, that was the first game that ever made me cry. And that was that. So on to the next question. How do you judge episode length other than chapters of a game? Left 4 Dead 2 is nice because it has safe rooms, which act as a good place to cut the story, but do you feel like longer episodes or shorter episodes are more beneficial for audiences? This really depends. As to answering the first question, or the first part of that question, I judge the episode length based on if anything significant has happened in the video, a major plot point, a puzzle's been completed, or you found some groundbreaking information, or just a sort of afterthought, like a certain bit of exploration, things like that. Left 4 Dead 2, as it was mentioned, is easy because you have safe rooms. Now, if it takes too long to get to the safe room in that particular level, then I usually end up splitting the episode in half. And I normally end the episode in a way, for people who have watched my videos, you already know how I end my videos, how I start my videos. I always do a nice little intro, then I do, if it's a collaborative effort, I do a nice little intro, and then I do thumbnail cards for all the people who are collaborating with me, just to make it seem more television-like, as well as to showcase the people who are playing in the game with me. And I always put the link to their channels, or the link to their Twitches, or a link to their Twitter, or whatever social media or outlet that they use. I always put a link in the description below. As for how I end the episode, usually I end on maybe a comedic note, or I end on a really funny, witty one-liner, or maybe we're starting the level over because I died in the game, which is often how I end up doing it. And remember me, if I end up dying at a particular place and I'm just really fed up with the episode at that point, I cut it and then I edit it and render it accordingly. As for length of videos, it's really hard to say. The internet, it is what it is. Attention spans are very limited, but if you're able to grab your audience right away and keep them engaged with yourself and in the story, and, you know, with you know, going back and forth between you and maybe somebody that you're collaborating with, or if you're just by yourself, you have to keep the energy going, you have to keep the pace going, not too much dead air, but you don't want to be talking the entire time. But as far as that's going, the best way for me to end an episode if I'm going solo is to end on a good line and to end on a certain point. Some very story-rich games like Remember Me, for instance, is what I'm playing through. I can't help it. Videos usually go for about 20 to 25 minutes, sometimes 30. The very first part of Remember Me is actually episode 0 and half of episode 1. Because episode 0 is essential for the story, it leads you into the story, but it's so short that you can't help but roll into episode 1 right off the bat. So that one ended up being almost 54 minutes, and I hate that it ended up being 54 minutes, but I knew that was the only way that I was going to be able to get what I wanted to get done and get to the point that I wanted to get to. For the most part, story-rich story games, you're going to have at least 20 to 25 minutes. As for whether it's a good thing or not, I found it very lazy, or rather very choppy, to chop up a video unnecessarily at a point between it's 12 and 15 minutes long, especially if it's cutting off at a certain point where you're not really sure why it's cutting off at that point. I want to make my game videos seem very episodic, so I make it into 15 to 20 to 25 minutes, a standard anime episode or a standard TV show length. So that's usually what I go for. And while I'm not asking for people to watch all 20 to 25 or 30 minutes, it is appreciated when people actually go through and do sit down and do these things. Another YouTuber who's pretty popular, Cryotic, or Cry as everyone knows him, is very well known for his story-rich gameplay. And I personally don't mind sitting there for 30 minutes to an hour watching an episode or two of him doing a game, because he engages the audience and he keeps them very focused and he keeps them locked into what he's doing, even if it's a game that you've already played before. What has been your favorite video so far to put up on your channel? My favorite video to put up on my channel so far has to be the current video I have up for my trailer video for my channel. For those of you who aren't subscribed to my channel, you can actually pull up the channel incognito mode if you are subscribed, and it's the second part to Hard Rain for Left 4 Dead 2. And the reason why I enjoy this episode so much is because it's called Too Many Witches. And if you played Left 4 Dead 2, there's a section in there where you're literally bombarded by witches. There's a witch here, a witch there, a witch there, everywhere. It's raining, it's stormy, you can't see anything, and you can't turn on your flashlight, so that makes things worse because it startles the witches. And the very beginning, Goozy, Edwin, Kat, and I were all talking about Borderlands 2 and if we all have it. And Edwin was expressing his displeasure with playing Borderlands, the pre-sequel. And he did the best one-liner I could have ever hoped for somebody to do a one-liner to intro into the episode. And for those of you who haven't seen it yet, you should check it out. It's a really short episode, it's a really short clip, but it's hilarious, and that's got to be one of my favorite videos that I put up on my channel so far. It's got great content, it's got great comedy, it's just a lot of getting to know each other and getting to know the character, or getting to know us as players, as gamers. It's very fresh, it's very new, and I like that. Alright, the next question is, who inspired you to start a gaming channel? Well, I wouldn't really say that anyone really inspired me to do a gaming channel. I've always wanted to do a gaming channel. I just never had the equipment to do so. But if I had to point myself in a particular direction as to who made me really want to even consider doing video gaming, I would have to say it was Brad, or also known as the Rad Brad on YouTube. He's known as the king of the YouTube walkthrough. And the first playthrough that I saw of him was Alan Wake. And Alan Wake, such a great game. I really need to go through and play it myself. I will not be recording myself playing it for several reasons, copyright being one of them. Well, it's not really a copyright issue, as it is that you, as a YouTuber, you can't monetize your videos, and that's where your revenue comes in. But as a small YouTuber, I'm not really getting much, and that's not really the reason why I'm starting this channel. But Brad, he, for those of you who don't know, he's from the South. He's from Georgia. And he's just got a really great voice. He engages with the audience, even though it's a recording, and he knows this, but he still likes to engage with the audience and likes to keep them active, and he very much cares what people have to say regarding his content. He always is very good about responding to people. He's very mellow, he's very down to earth, and his reactions to things are very, very, very good. And they always keep you going. And he's also another YouTuber who, like myself, when a big major cutscene comes in, he always pauses and is quiet and doesn't talk over the cutscene, which some YouTubers are notorious for doing that. They talk in the middle of the cutscene, and even with subtitles going, it's just really hard to concentrate with them. And I've actually stopped watching a few YouTubers because of that. It's just really distracting, and I hate that it happens that way, but it does. And that's just not the kind of a YouTuber that I am, and I want to aspire to be like Brad and be like several other YouTubers who do respect the game for what it is and do understand that there are other people watching and not just them playing the game. So, who do you think is the most intelligent and strategic protagonist in anime, and why? This is a question not concerning gaming. This is a question concerning anime, and I did invite everyone to ask me personal questions as well as anime related questions, or, you know, editing questions. And the most intelligent and strategic protagonist in an anime, I would have to say, would be Lelouch Lamperouge from Code Geass. Now, a lot of people who know me know that I'm a big Neon Genesis Evangelion fan. They know that I'm a big fan of period anime, and a lot of people don't understand the reason why I love Code Geass, because people think, oh, well, I liked it because it's mainstream. Not true. I don't think it's mainstream. It became mainstream, but initially in the beginning it wasn't, and a lot of girls are into it because it's really nice to look at, because the people who did it were part of Clamp. It's got very Clamp design, and everyone knows that Clamp is known for its beautiful artwork. But as a character, Lelouch is an anti-hero. When you first meet him, you clearly know that he is not going to be this I must save the world kind of guy. That's Suzaku. That's Suzaku Kurugi's, you know, area. He's the White Knight, just like Lelouch is the Black King. That's his role. He is the ruler. He is the one who has to make the moves. He's excellent at chess because he always thinks several moves ahead. He's very smart, but because he's so very smart and so very strategic and tactical, he borderlines insanity because of those reasons. And because he borderlines insanity, because he's so smart, it makes it very difficult for him to care about people who aren't directly influenced in his life, like his sister and his best friend Suzaku, and C2. Well, C2 becomes an important person to him later, and Shirley. These people who are directly part of his life, but for the most part, he just does not care. He can't be bothered to care, and it's because he's so smart and because he's so, tactical in his head. But that also puts him in a moment where he has a power trip, and that's also not a good thing. It's a thing that exists, but it is definitely not a good thing. And while he is intelligent and he is the protagonist, those factors actually work against him. Alright, who or what is your favorite video villain and your favorite boss fight? Okay, my favorite video game villain, I will say this forever, will always and forever be Final Fantasy VI's Kefka, because he is the one person who successfully destroyed the planet, and there's nothing that the main party can do about it. Spoiler alert! I meant to say that, spoiler. There's nothing that the main characters in the game can do. It's going to happen. It's linear. You can't stop it from happening. and he does it because he fucking can. Because he just felt like it. Because you took too long to get to him, and he couldn't be bothered to wait on you, and so he blew up the planet. Now, from somebody who has played Final Fantasy VII and a lot of other games where they say, oh, I'm going to destroy the world, and then they never do because the heroes show up and beat them. I played those games first. So when I got to this point in the game, in Final Fantasy VI, and Kefka's like, oh, you're taking too long, you're not getting here, I'm getting bored waiting on you, I'm gonna blow up the planet if you don't get here. When I hear those things, and after playing so many games for so long, I realize, I'm thinking, oh, he's so full of shit, he's not gonna do that, he's not gonna blow up the planet, whatever, I got plenty of time. And then he actually does. I'm pretty sure you can imagine my reaction to that. I was pretty much just going, what the fuck, the whole time. I couldn't believe what was going on the screen. It was insane. But he's definitely one of my favorite villains. He looks like a clown. For those of you who've ever seen pictures of Kefka, he looks like a fucking jester. But he's a general. He's a general, and he's an asshole. For all of you people who know about the sand in the boot thing, or sand on the boot thing, you already know what I'm talking about, so I don't have to go into that. But for anyone who's curious, you should Google Kefka sand boot, and you will see that little scene that I'm talking about that just really showcases how much of an asshole he is, because he's an asshole. As for my favorite boss fight, it's actually a tie. There is the final Colossus. Well, I say the final Colossus in Shadow of Colossus, or Shadows of the Colossus, and I like the final boss fight. It's a big pain in the ass, but I guess this it's a tie between the boss fights in that particular game. There's the Sky Dragon one and the final boss fight in Shadows of the Colossus. Now, the Shadow of the Colossus game fighting in general is tied with Okami, the final boss fight in Okami, where you're fighting this this giant sphere, and he actually is just a pain in the ass, but it's so worth it, because at this point in the game, spoiler, you lost a lot of your techniques and you are literally getting your ass handed to you. And then your little sidekick comes and he gets everyone to believe in you. For those of you who haven't played Okami, you were playing a wolf goddess, the goddess Amaterasu, who is also the mother of the sun. She's the sun goddess. She basks her love on everybody, blah, 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 blah. She takes on the form of a wolf, yada, 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 so on and so forth. But in that game, you're the form of the wolf, and you have brush techniques, and you fight using your tail that's dipped in an ink brush, and you can, you know, create bombs, and you can create tree walls, and you can fix bridges and heal people and fight and cast thunder and lightning and rain and all this good stuff. It's great. It's an awesome game. It's beautiful. Everyone should play it. If you haven't played it, shame on you. But the last boss fight, you pretty much are just up shit creek without a paddle. You have nothing. And then your little sidekick helps you and gets everyone to lift up your name and praise, and you become the true goddess that you are meant to be. You take on your full god form, and you just kick so much ass, and it's great. Beautiful soundtrack. I love it. So those are the answers to those two questions. Which style of art do you connect with the most? I'm an artist, for those of you who don't know and haven't seen my speed art videos. The style of art that I connect with the most, though, as far as my drawing style, is I draw anime and manga art. So very strong lines, if you want to say if I had a particular style of what my drawings look like in an anime manga setting, you have to look at maybe like the art from the 80s and 90s. You got Slayers, Sukeban Deka, Sorcerer Stabber Orphan, Rurouni Kenshin. The very hard lines with bold colors and, you know, strong jaw lines and characteristics, and just, you know, funky ass awesome hair, kick-ass clothes. A lot of the 80s and 90s were very bold colors, and whereas now the lines in today's anime is very soft and very pastel, a little washed out. For those of you who have ever seen Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei, that is a good prime example of soft tones but slightly monochromatic, washed out, and less detail with the character models and the character designs. They're very minimalistic in their art styles, whereas in the 80s and 90s it was very, they focused on even the tiniest moles and freckles, stuff like that. But that's more of my art style and the style of art that I connect with the most. How do you feel about men with accents? I love them. I love men with accents. They're great. I myself have an accent. It's weird. It's very subtle. But clearly I'm from the South, and for those of you who've watched some of my Let's Playthroughs, you can hear it coming out. I can't help myself. But it's a thing. So yes, I love them. Great. Fantastic. What's your most deciding factor on whether you like a game or not? Good character development, well-developed plot, lots of action, lots of story, pretty graphics. Well, to me, it's all about the story. The story of the game is what makes a great video game for me, and why I choose to get a game to play at all is for the story. Most games, like quick little run-throughs, Left 4 Dead 2, Borderlands 2, Borderlands in general, what's a few others, Dead Island. Those are games that are great to play with other people, and they have like a decent story, and, well, I say decent story, they have good stories, good characters, good graphics, I guess, but I still love my old school stuff. I still love my old Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 9, Final Fantasy 6, Final Fantasy 4. For those of you who haven't played 4, get it either for emulator, or get it for PlayStation, or get it on freaking Steam, get it on the DS. I don't care where you get it, but get it, because that game just mind-blowingly beautiful. And it's an old game. Same thing, Final Fantasy 3, old games. All of them, old games, and they're great because the story is just amazing. And when you can pull me into a world like Xenogears and Xenosaga and Parasite Eve, when you can pull me into the world of Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross and just get me lost and let me feel for these characters and let me feel for this world and forget that I am who I am, then that's all that matters. Graphics, yeah, that's great. Games look amazing these days. But if I were to pick and choose, for instance, between Final Fantasy X with the amazing graphics and Final Fantasy VII with the PlayStation 1 hexagonal pixels with the little tiny people, Cloud doesn't even have a hand, he has little circles for hands. Like, if I had to pick, I would still pick Final Fantasy VII over 10 as far as my favorite Final Fantasy Final Fantasy game out of those two. I would always pick 7 hands down. Why? Because the story always was better for me. Finding out and getting slammed in the face repeatedly, blindsided left and right about what was going on, was so great. And graphics, yeah, they're amazing. Graphics make games so much more appealing these days and make it more enjoyable to watch. But at the end of the day, the story is what matters to me. And that's what decides for me a game that I want to play over and over and over again, versus paying $60, $70 for a game that looks pretty, but I didn't really enjoy myself. A game that does a good job of both, though, I played it. Heavy Rain. Great story. Great graphics. Mechanics are kind of rough, though. So if you have a problem with like the PlayStation controller and maneuvering it like you need to maneuver it, that's something you probably want to get into, but bear in mind that it's a little frustrating. So if you get past the frustration, the story's totally worth it. Promise. Totally worth it. Alright. And I'm gonna get one more question. And that'll be it for this segment. Alright. I think you told me before, but how did you come up with the name Eden? Okay, I have so many aliases. My main ones are Kia, Soph, which is a lot of what everyone uses, Sophia. That's my real name, by the way. Just gonna go ahead and put that out there. My name's Sophia. And Eden and Dice Gang. Those are my main aliases. Now, the reason why I chose Eden is because when I first got onto YouTube, on my old channel, Studio Eden, I was still a voice actress, or an amateur voice actress, and I was doing a lot of projects. And I was also big into, or I still am big into anime music video making. And that's where I showcase a lot of my music videos, not only just live action, but anime as well. And I still do AMVs. I still enter competitions. But the name that I went under was Studio Eden, or Eden. And at the time, when you were a producer on, or when you were producing things on Voice Acting Alliance, or the VAA, the forum board, you always wanted to have some kind of project name or studio that you wanted to call yourself. You don't want to just be like produced by, on VAA I was known as PyChan, so it was, you don't want to say I was produced by PyChan. No, when you created a little mini site, you wanted to have something on standby, either, you know, PyChan Productions or Studio PyChan or whatever. And that was what my name was for the longest time, until finally I came up with Studio Eden, because no one had called themselves Eden yet. No one had slotted that name for anything. And so I was like, oh, Eden, that's really cool. It's simple. It's, you know, it's not a lot. It's not very wordy. It's not very forgettable, but it's still very unique. So why don't we go with Eden? And that's how I decided to go with Eden. But you'll rarely hear any of my friends on, you know, gaming call me Eden. Just mostly when I do my Let's Play as solo, or when I'm introducing people. I always start off with, hey, this is Eden, but everyone always forgets whenever we're caught up in the moment doing collaborations, and they'll just drop my real name, or they'll drop Kia or whatever. But for all you other YouTubers out there who want to do any future collaborations with me, if you want to call me Kia or Sophia or Eden, that's fine. Just credit me as Eden in your channel descriptions or whatever, and that'd be awesome. But that's how I came up with the name, and it's pretty much stuck around since then, and I've had it for years. And I hope to make a name for myself. I hope to make a statement with my videos, and I hope to just really bring good content for you guys, and hopefully get you into gaming, and get you into games that you're, you know, maybe possibly into. Oh, but just for the fact of, before I forget, because I don't want to lose my subscriber, I'm going to personally shout out for Taylor. What was it like working with that Taylor guy? His question. Was he as dreamy as they say? Taylor was my very first person that I ever did a collaboration with, and it was Left 4 Dead 2, and it was Dead Center. It was my very first Left 4 Dead 2 series that I put up, and working with Taylor was very, very fun. He's hilarious. He's very awesome. He's very open to criticism. He's very, you know, very intuitive, and I like that. I actually asked one of his questions earlier. I'm not going to tell you which one, but I did ask it. And it was great. Arch Gamers, or for anyone who wants to do any collaborations with him, you should totally check him out. He's awesome. It was so much fun working with him, and we did a Don't Starve together bit, me, him, and Kyo, and his friend Sean, who's also someone that I want to do collaborations with later on. But it was really fantastic. I can't wait to do more stuff with him in the future. So look forward to his content though, because he's like me, we're big on story games. So keep an eye out. And thanks again for watching, guys. Next Q&A will be next week. If anyone wants to submit more questions, you're welcome to. You can either leave a comment down in the description below, or you can send me a personal message into my YouTube inbox, or you can Twitter me at PieChan on Twitter, or you can send me a personal Facebook message on either my personal Facebook if you know me, or on my Eden's Play Facebook channel. I will leave a link in the description below to that as well. So thanks again, guys, and looking forward to the next Q&A. Peace out. Love you. Bye.